There's a way we've been writing essays, MCQs, and we already have an idea of what these things actually are. But Viva, there's no rehearsal. There's nothing can beat the first experience.
It was actually an awesome experience. Being the first person, the supervisors were already waiting for us. We didn't come on time as a class, so they were waiting. And then I just entered. The moment
This is first impression, Even in Africa, we know how much we value first impression, and first impression gone wrong. So I was like, thought maybe, oh God, anything that happened Viva. Suddenly Viva started, and in summary, he told me my score and he gave me a very high score. And like I said, it's favor. See, there is God in med school. It's easy to do med school with God.
Hello everyone, my name is Namba Cletus, and I'm here to share my Viva experience with you. So about Viva, when you hear Viva, don't run for your life, sha. My Viva experience was generally okay. It was cool. I personally felt as if I had favor. I started my Viva with anatomy, and the peculiar thing that happened there for me was, I was expecting that they would say pick a bone and everything, and I was seeing that they were asking me neuro and all of that. But at first I was kind of tense and all, but on answering the first question well and moving on, I was able to speak my confidence, and I was able to answer the questions that was being thrown at me. Although I did not answer everything down to the details, but yeah, it was okay. I was able to move stuff. BCH was actually okay. BCH was for me the easiest, as in it was the easiest. Yeah, it was the easiest. So BCH I went to. For physio, it wasn't like anatomy and PCH in the sense that we were 4 that were being viva at the same time. So I don't know, there's always this kind of extra confidence you get when you hear your colleagues. So my future viva was actually okay too. So generally, viva was not how I thought, it will seem, or how people might actually make you feel it seems like per se. Viva is not something to be afraid of, especially if you have been attending classes, you have been reading, you actually discover at the end of Viva that the stuff is inside you. The stuff inside you. Everything I read before the night of Viva, trust me, don't ask me anything. They didn't ask me anything among those things. But I was able to attempt Viva well.
Well, my Viva for me at the end of it, came with mixed feelings. Because at first I was really optimistic about it. I had prayed personally. My leaders had prayed for me. As my group of friends, we had prayed together. So I was very positive that when I go for the Viva, anatomy, biochemistry, physiology would be okay. Right? But then as we started, biochemistry. Okay, let me just start with biochemistry now. I was the first person to be, to meet with the external supervisor, examiner. So it was interesting, it was light, it was very okay. I came out of that hall very happy. He just asked me very simple questions. How do I find biochemistry? How can I, relate biochemistry with clinical sciences? And so it was interesting. So when I came out, I was happy. And, but when I went in for anatomy, that was where, I went in for physiology secondly, and it was, the waters were beginning to shake. So I went in, he asked me questions. Some were questions I did not know. But there were things that were actually taught in class, things that were taught during the practical. So it's very important that you pay attention to the little things in practical. It could just be to describe one very small instrument you were just seeing or taking, this is just something simple. But then, it showed up there. So he asked me from different areas. There were some I knew, there were some I did not know, and thank God he was somebody that was understandable. Right, he was somebody that I could say he was friendly, right? So my physiology Viva, I would say it's in the middle, right? But my biochemistry, like I said earlier, was the best for me. And then when I went in for anatomy, in fact, before I went in for anatomy, I was already scared, because there's how we see anatomy is like the organ of the whole thing. So I went in for anatomy, and before then we heard about the examiner, how she was really asking people heavy questions and all of that. So I went in, I was panicking before I got in, but when we started, it was going well. Right? I was answering her question quite all right, and then she asked me a question that I did not have an idea of. In fact, my lecturer that was there was also trying to help me make sense out of the question, but the idea was not just there. So I came out of anatomy, I was sad. In fact, I wanted to cry because I felt, hey, I've missed it. But my friend was there, Jennifer, to just encourage me, and a number of them to say it's going to be fine, it's going to be all right. So in conclusion, for my Viva, I can say God helped me. Yes, I saw God. Sometimes we pray, God favor me, and then if something little goes wrong, it's not like God never favored you. He was still there in all of those process, even when the questions were not something we knew. I still believe God favored me in the Viva. It went well. Pay attention to the little things in class. Sometimes sitting at the front is very good also.
I'm Samuel Neji, and I'm here to share my Viva experience. So Viva for me. Luckily enough, I was the first person who started Viva in biochemistry. I was the first person who started Viva in physiology, but I was not the first person who started in anatomy. So for my biochemistry, how was it like? It was actually an awesome experience. Being the first person, the supervisors were already waiting for us. We didn't come on time as a class, so they were waiting. And then I just entered. The moment I entered, it was like, he has been waiting. And then, started asking me questions. And before I finished answering one question, but something spectacular happened actually. Before we entered for that Viva, me and my friends were discussing about it. And we just asked a question. We just asked, what if they ask you what is biochemistry? And then we just provided answer to it. And the moment I entered, the first question he asked me was, what was biochemistry? He asked me, what's biochemistry? And thank God we have already said something about it, so I was able to answer. And then that was it for biochem basically. Then when we went for physio, I actually found favor for physio viva. I won't lie, I found favor. Now, I was lucky enough to be the person who assisted them in carrying the chairs for the viva. So I carried the chair, and then the moment I dropped it in one of the offices, one of the technicians there saw me. I was like, wow, you are working? He said, okay, I know what to do. I'm going to grant you favor. And then he asked me the person I want to be vivaed by. And I was like, this is an opportunity. I was calling the name of a prof that I had in mind actually. But the man, and while I was calling the name of that prof, somewhere in my mind, I was hearing this scripture, the steps of the righteous is ordered by the Lord. And so the man said, no, I should not worry. He was going to take me to somebody that will viva me. I said, okay, no problem, sir. Anyhow you want it. That was how I went in and I answered questions for physio, and physio was the simplest for me. Then anatomy viva. I remember, that one we had a lot of pressure. In fact, at some point we had to leave the spot to go back to go and start reading. We were just reading because people were coming out. Somebody would just come out and say, they asked me question on gustation. Somebody else would come out and say, they asked me question on upper limb. Another person would just come, different informations. But then finally, when I entered, the man just looked at me. After greeting the man, he just gave me the bones of the foot. And he just asked me, do I know what these bones are? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, move it. And that was how I started talking. And after everything, it was awesome. So the viva experience, I was able to do all of them in one day. And it was, in fact, when we finished, I was asking myself, is this really the viva and everything? So that was how my viva experience went.
The viva experience, let me start from biochemistry. To me, my viva experience was what I prayed for. All the things I asked God for, except the physio. In biochemistry, when I went there, the man was even gisting with me. He asked me for my state and so many things. It was a banter and I enjoyed it. Although the thing that was very essential there was I just knew that anyone I did not know, I would tell him I cannot remember. But it was actually nice. Then when I went to anatomy, God, I was afraid when I went there. I can't even lie. The woman that everybody was afraid of, that was where I went to go and sit down. Guys, when I went there, let me show you how she said it. She said, we asked the last person orbit, so we are going to ask you here. I said, yeah. Then she just said, just calm down. Where do you want me to ask you from? Me, I now went to go and say cubital fossa. I don't know that cubital fossa was not cubital fossa. So if you are not really certain about a place, don't say it, don't ask for it. But physio was actually not bad. The things I was able to say that I remember, the man, he helped me out in the ones I couldn't remember. But the things I knew I was certain about, I stretched it, and that was it for me. So I think I had a very lovely viva experience, to be honest.
Ikechukwu Victor Jr. So I want to tell you all about my viva experience. I feel like they start changing the question on my head when I entered for anatomy first, because anatomy was my first. So I went in, and firstly I greeted the woman. She was like I should have my seat. So I sat down. She started asking questions. I was answering some questions, and she now asked me some questions that was like, she was just going outside what I studied. So I was busy answering based on Holy Spirit guidance and residual knowledge that very day. So the second one was biochemistry. Like I said initially, they changed question on my head. Everyone was like, they are asking them, what is biochemistry? What is this? What is that? When I entered here, this man started asking me things from physio. What's the HB concentration? I was like, sir. I was like, yes. And to make everything worse, the man just began to graduate. He started to his graduate. I was like, he asked me. So I was so scared of everything that day. I had to ask the man that, sir, did I do well? He now laughed and said, don't worry, you see the result, all the best. So I went for physiology. And physiology, like I say, they changed question on my head. I answered some questions that I never knew I could ever answer in my life. So in everything, I just want to say my viva experience was more like a game to some extent, like a difficult stage in a game. And I thank God that it was successful.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Victor Bonnet. I'm here to talk to you about my viva experience. I want to say I was highly favored in my viva all through, from anatomy to biochemistry and then physiology. I started with anatomy, And when I entered, I greeted the man. The man was very friendly. He asked me how I was doing, how was the exam. I explained, sir, the exam was stressful, but indeed it was fair. And he said, all right. So he asked for my matric number. I gave him. And then before he started asking me questions, he asked me again, how are you doing? I was like, this man, why are you so concerned about me like that? I said, I'm very fine, sir. He said, all right. So what surprised me was that he was asking me, where do you want me to ask you from? I said, sir, I want one of the bones of the upper limb. So he said, all right, so which of the bones? I said humerus. So he said, all right, teach me humerus. So that was how it went. And I ended up, he was even smiling. So from there I went to BCH. That's biochemistry. When I went to biochemistry, the man just asked me what sickle cell anemia was, what dental caries was. I was like, is that all? He said, have a nice day. I was like, God. When I went to physiology, I was having some fears for physiology because one of my colleagues came out and they were asking heme synthesis. I said, me, even when we are writing the blood physiology test, heme synthesis, if you check heme synthesis, almost stuff's there. So at the end, I just went inside, and then it was one of our professors that vivaed me. He asked me very basic things, and then it was nice. I thank God for all of that. My viva was smooth all through. Thank you so much.
Okay, now concerning my viva experience, the morning before the viva, I was damn scared. I was very, very scared. But thanks to group prayers and charge and everything, so I was a little bit strong, to face the viva head on. So my first viva was biochem, and surprisingly, it was easy. We didn't spend up to 5 minutes. The man just asked me basic question: what is biochemistry? What is the usefulness concerning this and that? That was that. And then for my physio wasn't that good because the man first of all asked me, he gave me instrument. What is this? I told him that this is clinical thermometer. He asked me one or two. I could answer it. Then what shook me off balance was when he was asking that have I heard of chloride sheet? I said yes, of course. Then he asked me, which membrane does this occur? And I was thinking, which membrane? Is it in the alveoli? Is this in this thing? And then he asked me what goes in and what comes. And this is something I knew already, that, okay, biochemistry, bicarbonate comes out and sodium goes in. But I couldn't say a thing. And then he kept asking and asking. I was just stammering and everything, but it went well, to God be the glory, but not as I expected. The one that blew my mind off was my anatomy viva. There's this woman that people were actually avoiding because she like a principality. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to face this woman, God has given me favor. I'm going there. She will ask me questions I know. Thinking that it was the woman I was directed to. Then they directed me to this man, and surprisingly, the man asked me, "What is femoral triangle?" I mean, who asks what is femoral triangle in a viva exam? I was like, this is it. And then I know that one, and that was the question I was begging, that this is what I want them to ask me in lower limbs. I could answer, and then the man asked me what is abductor canal, stuff like that. And then when I stood up to go, the man was like, is this your own? Is this the first one you are doing? I said, no, I've done chemistry, I've done biochemistry, I've done physiology. This is my last. The man was like, you see what your colleague was afraid of? You face it head on. And I was like, yes, sir. And the man asked for my name. You know that it's not in Bible. If they ask for my name, it's two ways. The man asked for my name. I was like, my name is Grace. The man was like, I can see Grace written all over. And I was like, oh my God, it's settled already. So that was, even when I was smiling, I was like, oh, God did it for me. So that's that.